Hello, everyone. Ryan here, the Psychic Medium Mentor. Thank you so much for tuning in and for following along. I have what I hope is a helpful video today. I am starting to finish up the clients that I was working with this last season, and I was thinking about the struggles that they have and that we have and are successfully working through. And many of the struggles that my clients have, I have had myself. So I absolutely recognize them, and because of that, I'm able to help people get through them. Okay. I started thinking about the blockages that I had early in my journey into my psychic ability gifts. And if I would have known then what I know now, I would, in theory, have been able to move through them a lot quickly and not put myself through so much shit and frustration. So, even though I strongly believe that sometimes you just have to do the work, you need to go through it. That way, you can gain knowledge and experience and have these epiphany moments. And it's really a journey, it's a learning journey. I think that also you can make it easier on yourself if you're aware that these certain things are going to happen, why they're happening, and the pitfalls with getting stuck in them. So even though I think a lot of the things I'm going to go over are there for a reason and we're meant to experience it for a reason, can we do so with less strife? Okay, so here's the first thing that was really a hiccup for me, and I see it with many of my clients, okay, is using others as a mirror for your psychic abilities. So, what do I mean by that? When we are figuring out our psychic gifts and how they work, validation is incredibly important. And I'm not trying to steer anyone away from validation. Validation is one of the major things I do for my clients so they can learn to trust what they're receiving. The issue comes in when that external validation is the only thing you have to make you trust yourself. So you have this outside thing that you're trying to use to learn trust, which is really an inside thing. And a lot of times, while you're still figuring out your psychic abilities and you're not sure of certain things, and things are really not coming in clearly, or they're a little scattered at first, which is very, very normal. If we are using people to tell us that we are psychic and we are getting something right, well, when they don't, and that will happen, it can really, really knock you down. And a lot of times people can't get past this part. So they've had psychic experiences. They know sometimes they're right about things. There's phenomena happening around them that is just undeniable. And then they're using perhaps people in group circles or friends or family to say, hey, this is going on. Am I right? And that's a mixed bag. It can either be very helpful under the best of conditions, or it can be very unhelpful because you have people say, no, that's not right. I don't know what you're talking about, or you're silly. They can even be shameful and invalidating. There's so many different things that can happen. And even if you're not practicing with people, like let's say you're just on the computer and practicing on Facebook groups, if you don't get the reception and the validation that you're hoping for, it can really knock your confidence. So, what I would tell people in this case is not to not practice with people. That definitely becomes, something most of us have to do at some point. But spend a good amount of time practicing with just yourself and accepting that you do not have validation. A lot of times in the beginning stages, people are really wanting people to say, yes, you're right. Oh my God, that's so great. And that can be asking something advanced of someone that's new to this and really doesn't have a grasp on everything that's going on. If you practice more with yourself at the beginning and validate maybe with a pendulum or tarot or oracle cards, or even don't validate and just feel out how your gifts are coming in, take note of them, write them down. If you do that for a while and you start to build confidence in yourself, you will probably find that when you do, if you do go to other people to try to test your gifts, that since you're already feeling confident in what you were receiving when you were working with yourself, that you won't be so rattled by people if you don't get something quote unquote right, or just so, if I could talk. And to add to that, at some point, even if you are receiving validation, even if everyone's like, that's great, that's right, you're such a good reader, at some point, you still have to get to a place where you're feeling confident within your psychic abilities and your spiritual connection that has nothing to do with outside people. Our connection is for us and to help us navigate our life with more ease, and so that we feel connected to the divine as much as we are. That outside stuff is great, don't get me wrong, until it's not. But this is about you and the information within you and your spiritual connection. So you want to make sure you are not always chasing the validation to prove something to yourself. You know, at the beginning stages, you have a lot of experimenting with your psychic abilities. They are not always coming in clear. They're not always coming in consistent, even if they are clear, and things can be incredibly varied at first. If I could go back, I would have not got so frustrated at expecting certain things to happen just like this every time, because I needed it to happen like this, because I was trying to gauge it so I could control it, grab the information when I wanted, and be certain that it was coming in. It doesn't work like that when you're experimenting, and that's really what you're doing at the beginning. You are supposed to be learning and experimenting with your psychic abilities and feeling them out, letting them blossom, and showing you the different ways that information might come across. And what I see for a lot of people is that as soon as it's not how it was yesterday, or as soon as it's not how it was 5 minutes ago, they sort of like, I can sense their energy slam, and they're frustrated, and they're like expecting it to be da-da-da-da-da, right? Like this. And psychic abilities do not work that way. If I could go back and stayed more curious and had a little more fun playing, that would allow the energy to move forward more quickly. And I do always tell my clients, be curious, that keeps your channels open. Be excited, that keeps your channels open. But when you're trying to handle psychic abilities like the other things we do in life, where you're like, I'm going to focus and I'm going to be, very rigid about it, and I'm going to get it done. Even though we're all for practicing and, having some consistency, psychic abilities cannot be handled like the many other tasks we do in life. They need freedom. They need room to breathe. And they need you to allow things to sort of wake up and present themselves to you, to play, have fun, have an experience, and figure out how your gifts want to come across to you. So in that early stage, like I said, have fun, be creative, be excited at how it's going to be different today, maybe, than it was yesterday. Do not always expect it to be just so you can master it, and you want to master it this month. Treat it differently. It's asking for free flow of energy, and the looser grip you have on your psychic abilities, the easier they will be to present themselves to you. Try to build confidence through your experience instead of certainty with your gifts. Certainty with psychic abilities is kryptonite. And to the people that always say to me, and I know many of you have said this to yourself internally, well, how do I know if I'm right? Sometimes you're not going to, and you should get comfortable with that. Even though when you're working with me, or let's say you're practicing with someone and someone's able to validate you in the moment, which is great, which is helpful, as I said, there will come times, many times, where the information you give or receive cannot be validated. Sometimes it will take months or years, or it might never. But you learn to be receptive, and you're like, you take note of what you received and then you move on from it. This is about trusting yourself. Okay, there's many times that I get information, I don't know if it's right. It could be predictive information and I won't know until it happens. My job, especially when I'm working with clients, is to give what I get. If it resonates and they validate, that's great. But a lot of the information can't be validated in the moment. I have people get a hold of me a lot later that say, this happened and that happened and now it all makes sense. But I give what I get. And that's what you need to do for yourself also, is be comfortable with the uncertainty. Certainty is not granted to us. And, energy is always changing and we are trying to decipher it. And, all that matters is that you're connecting with yourself and you're attempting to do the best job you can. But you will not always be able to go, I got this, and this person's saying they were right. The things I'd like you to get comfortable with are uncertainty. You will not always be right. If you were always right, you'd be a god, okay? You are going to be wrong, and the less you worry about it, the less it will happen, okay? Allowing. We're going to allow the energy. We're going to allow our gifts to work how they'd like to. We are not going to seek outside validation constantly to tell us that we should trust ourselves. We are going to experiment. We are going to have fun. We are going to go with the flow. We are going to validate ourselves, and we are going to trust ourselves, and we are going to build confidence in ourselves. And building trust and building confidence and overcoming old thought patterns and doubt is a process, and that is okay. It is meant to be a process. We are not meant to have it all figured out. We are not meant to be great at our psychic abilities all within a week. We are meant to go through this and slowly release and let go of things and allow this all to be a much more enjoyable experience. I hope this helps, babes. Much love.